All right, so welcome to part 3 of our E100 journal tracker journal. I think that probably is what I'll call it, E100 tracker journal. So we have two signatures here that we made in the first video with our pockets, and I glued those on since the last time. The papers are all still loose in there. And then we made this in the last video with a folder to go into the center. And we're not complete with this, but I think I'm going to sew it in, and then we can add to it as we go. We don't have to have this all completely figured out on day one. So I'm just going to put those aside for a minute. And I made a spine that I'm going to put this in, and there's various ways to do this. This is one of the simplest ways that I've done it, and I like this way, so I decided to do it again. Maybe you can see all of the score marks on there. So what I did is I decided that I wanted a spine for this project that was going to be 1.5 inches wide. And the cover, I like to have it a tiny bit bigger than, taller than the pages. So my cover is going to be 8 3/4 inches high. So what I did is I cut this 8 3/4 inches high by 2 inches wide. And then, hope you can see that all right. You can take a screenshot of that if you like, and then refer back to it. So I cut it 2 inches wide by 8 3/4 inches long, and I scored it 5/8 of an inch, 1 inch, 1 3/8 inch on the 2 inch side. So on this side, I did those 3 measurements. Then on this long side, I did 1 inch on either side and 4 3/8, which is exactly the center. And if you want to, like, some people just eyeball this every time. It doesn't have to be rocket science. So if you get it a little bit off, don't worry about it. It's just approximately in the middle to hold on the signatures. And then you make a hole everywhere that the lines cross. And we'll do that in a second. And then after that, because we don't need holes for where this last line is, so I just put this one at the end, scored 1/4 inch on each side of this 2 inch side. So that will be where our between my thumbs, that will be where our spine is. That's 1.5 inches, and this will be just extra overlap to go into our cover to secure it. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm just going to take up my phone book here, and I'm going to go on the side that's not written on. And I have to make sure that I don't punch there because I already did my scores there. But so every place that you have an intersection, you need to score. So there should be 3 there, 3 there, and 3 at the end. Just like that. Then what I usually do is I write T for top on one side. Because we did them both 1 inch from the edge, it shouldn't matter, but in case I'm off a little bit, then it's a little more accurate. So this is the way that I found is easier for me, is I bend it in the middle. So that's my one of my signatures. And this is just to align the hole. So I take one of my stacks of papers, make sure that everything is right side up, and then stick this in the corner. Because you're kind of going into the fold of the phone book, and this is folded and this is folded, everything just really lines up nicely. And you want it to overhang just a smidge on the top and the bottom because we cut this a tiny bit bigger. So go into your first hole there and just press. You've got quite a few pages here, so maybe just twirl it around a little bit, get a good hole on the other side. Second one, and the third one. And then I'll just check and just make sure those ones came through okay, and they look like they're great. So I'm going to, before I stitch my first one in, it's easier just to use the same template 3 first. So I'm going to just make sure that one's all lined up. Put this in the crease. And again. Just make sure all your holes are good. They look like they've come through. They're not big on the other side, which is what I like. And then this one is a little bit different because this one is flat. This has a flat spine. So we can't really put that into the crease and line it up there. So this one, probably what I would do is line this up in the middle of the crease so I can see this line is in the middle between those two lines. And then just kind of put it up a bit. And then the same thing at the bottom here. I just want to make sure that is in the middle. It's kind of an awkward angle I'm at here right now, so just want to make sure that's... And actually what you can do, and this is probably a better idea, is just to line it up as best you can, and then just instead of doing a hole right away, just put a pen mark. And I'll show you why in a minute. So now we can see that this one is a little bit off center. This is our spine there, so we can adjust that one. We don't have to do it right where that pen mark is. We can adjust it. This one is a little bit off as well. So this one is pretty good. There. So we've got all of our holes in all 3 of our signatures. So now what we need to do is sew them in. So maybe I'll just start with this one. And this is what I just use. I use different things sometimes, but this is what I often use is just some crochet cotton. And a needle, it doesn't have to be a huge needle, but it has to have a fairly big eye to get the crochet cotton through. So, and I usually do about 2.5 times the height of my book. Seems to work good for me. So I like to go in through the center. So again, I'll put my top on top. So in through the center, and then go back in through the bottom. And in through the top. And then in through the center, back up in the center. I'm a little off here, so let me find my hole. There we go. All right, so you can take that off the needle. And I just pull them this way just to tighten everything up and just check to make sure there's no slack in there. That one's a little bit slack, so I'll just tighten it up a little bit more. And then I put one of these on each side of this center. And I tie a knot. So I usually tie 3 just for fun. 1, 2, and 3. And then I think I'm just going to trim them off level with the bottom here. And I might show you how to do something with that later. So I'll just leave it a little bit longer in case we decide to do that. So now we have our center section sewn into the spine. So now we can decide which one we want to do next. I think I'll do this one next. Okay, so I'll just do 2.5 times the book again. Thread it on the needle. All right. And then we want this onto the next signature. So this is the top again. That's the top of the book. So this one, there's lots of pages like this. Sometimes I find it helpful to clip on the top there, just to keep everything in place. And I may have to adjust that actually a little bit. So in through the center again, out on this side, and when I put a clip on, I often do this. I will just put the tail underneath the clip, and then you don't lose that tail, because that does happen on occasion. So in through the bottom, line up my hole here. Sometimes it's a little bit fiddly to get all the pages in. If you have to do them a few at a time, sometimes that works. Oops. See, I almost lost my tail there. Stick it under. Okay, and then I go through the top. So here, and then through my spine. And then through the center again. There. So I'll release my tail. Again, I'll just tighten everything up. Don't pull too tight, because you will rip the paper if you do it too tight. But just so that everything is nice and taut on this side. And then you want one on either side. I actually got mine on both on one side, so I'll change this one. And 3 knots again. So 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to do this one just level with the bottom as well. And now we've got 2 signatures sewn in. So I'll just do the last one here. And we have our 3rd signature put in. Oops. So here's my first signature and my folder and my 3rd signature, all attached to the spine. So we're going to work on the cover next, and we'll make the cover, and then we'll put the spine in, and then our journal will start to look like a book.